Hi, Rhetoric 101. I am recording this on the Wednesday of fall break after I met with all of you on Monday and Tuesday. And I want to let you know how to avoid the main misconception that I saw people making in Project 2. I know you're breaking and you might not want to watch this right now. Well, that's fine. Put it off. But before you write your full draft of Project 2, I really want you to take some time to think about this. Here is the main question that this project has to do with. The rhetorical analysis answers the questions, what does this text say and what strategies does it use to be effective to audiences? I didn't say strategies very well, whatever. What strategies does the text use to be effective? That's the key question. So say that I am looking at this warning. The main question is, how is this ad trying to be effective? So if I come in and I'm like, this ad is about a road cleaning machine. This ad doesn't want you to stick your hands in it. This ad is on the side of the road. Well, maybe that's helpful to summarize, to give a context, to give a picture of what it is you're even talking about. Sure, mention that stuff. But the key, the main point, what you need to talk about the most is why this ad is designed the way it is, in your judged opinion. I don't know what that was. The real question is, what strategy is it using? Well, in this case, the strategy is all visual, right? So how is it, why in the world do you think that it divided it in half? Why did it use mostly yellow? Why did it use red right there? What is going on in the minds of the people who made this warning to design it the way they did? Same thing if I'm looking at this one. Well, now it's like, well, this is a very different kind of warning, right? It looks different. Someone who designed this used a different strategy. The point of this essay is to say, what strategy did they use? Why did they choose white, do you think? Why did they choose black? Why didn't they use a picture? Why does this one use no words and this one's use all words? What's going on with this required by section 25249.6? Why don't you Google that thing and see what it says and see if that tells you something else about why they designed this the way they did. Same thing for this warning. This is a written warning that someone named Dominic Harvey received from his job a long time ago, telling him that it is disappointing for me that I have to issue you with this official warning which puts your future employment to excess in jeopardy. If I were reading this, I would be, what strategy did this boss use to tell his employer that the employer was not doing a very good job? So then when I get down to all this other stuff, a lot of you were like, kind of had a list going of here's my summary, here's my context, here's my judgment, and here's my support for the conclusions. That's great. That stuff is all required. It has to be in the essay somewhere, but I'm not requiring you to write about all of it in this kind of list-like format. In other words, I do not want an essay that the first fourth is, here's my summary. Second fourth, this is the context. Third fourth, this is my judgment. Fourth, this is my support. No. Mix all of those things together and talk about those when it feels most logical for you to talk about them. Well, how am I supposed to know what's most logical? Well, that's part of the exercise here. You're taking the material you have from your notes, your thoughts, and you're turning those into an essay organized in the way that you think works best. I think that's where Norton Field Guide comes in handy. They have specific advice about how to organize these on page 54. So let's talk about these four things here. When I talk about, for instance, this letter, the summary of it is basically, I could put in a sentence or two, right? This is a letter from an employer to an employee who isn't doing his job, and it mentions this, this, and this. Great. Well, what's the context? The context is that this guy was not doing a very good job for various reasons. Again, you'd have to read it to understand the whole thing. Now, the judgment is my judgment of why the employer shaped this warning the way they did. Don't miss that, guys. That's what most of you were not, well, not most of you were missing, but that was the most common misunderstanding of this assignment. Know that you're supposed to read this and say, what is your judgment, you the student, about why this was designed that way? Same with this. What is your judgment for why this was designed this way? What is your judgment for why this was designed that way? Then part 4 is you back that up with specifics, right? So it would be easier for you to say, I think that this employer, Steve Rowe, the manager, he designed it this way because he didn't want his employees' feelings to be hurt. We could just say that, but then you're just expecting to take your word for it. You're like, hey, hey, Mr. Stedman, just understand, please, that this is that I'm right. No. Take it to the next level. Say your judgment. He was trying to avoid hurting the feelings of the employee, but then take it to that next level of saying, and I can prove that to you because this line here shows that he was trying to avoid hurting his feelings. Don't just say, I judge that they used black and white because because that it was important for them to get all of these words across because the words were all required by law and they wanted the words to stand out. If you say that, don't just say it, draw attention to it. Say, for example, notice how there is no color at all. For example, notice how there are so many words compared to other visual warnings that use no words at all. If you're looking at this one and you have the judgment that they use that red X because it stands out against the yellow really well, back that up by describing where it is again. Say they use a red X. For example, notice how the red X is very, very noticeable against the back, right? You see how certain kinds of judgments are harder to back up, but always ask yourself that. If I'm making a claim, if I, the writer, am making a claim about my warning, how can I prove it by referring back to the text that I'm proving it from? So if you're like, well, I don't know, that's a whole lot of stuff. How in the world am I supposed to fit all that into one essay? My biggest piece of advice is go to the example in the book. Remember that day we read through chapter 7? For goodness sakes, this essay in here is really, really good. It starts on page 43 of the book. It's also online here. I love how we see at the end of the introduction a thesis statement that includes the student, Doug's, claim about these ads. He says, the concept of personal hygiene has been used to convey the message that catching a man or becoming a wife is a woman's ultimate goal. Now, wait a minute. The ads didn't say that. The ads didn't say, hey, there's a trend here that catching a man is a woman's ultimate goal. No. This is Doug's perspective. Doug looked at these ads and he's like, you know what? I'm going to do some clever analysis, and I know the main thing I want to say about them is that I see this overarching theme coming through. Doug, you're awesome. If I were using these two warnings and writing an essay about them, I would do the same thing. I would say, what overarching theme can I say? Or could I put my claim into a sentence or two? Could I say, while this road cleaning machine primarily uses the strategy of this other ad about this other warning about chemicals primarily uses these other techniques. If I could put that into a sentence and get that into my introduction paragraph, holy smokes, I'm gold. I know that I'm fulfilling that assignment, that main thing of saying what strategies the warning uses to be effective. Read through the rest of this essay and read through the rest of chapter 7. We went through it so quickly in class, but they give you so many good questions to ask yourself. If you stick to the book, if you stick to this sample, I think you'll be in really good shape. But if, on the other hand, you're like, screw the book, I'm just going to write it myself however I feel like. I'll just summarize the ad and it'll probably be fine. You're in dangerous territory, friends. Okay, hope that helps. I am very, very willing to explain more about this in person as we look at your jobs in more detail. I will see you in class.